You've heard of rom-coms where the guy always gets the girl. You've seen drom-coms where 1 minute you're laughing and the next you're crying. Well, this is TraumCom, where we face our inner demons head on. You know, the ones that caused us all that trauma. And then we're going to make fun of them together until they get real uncomfortable in a fun yet supportive space. Dun, 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 dun. It is November 26th, almost Turkey Day, and I'm Jackie Goldstein. I'm your host of TraumCom Podcast. This is our 4th episode, and today we have a special guest, Ian Matthew Harrington.
That's me. Hey. Okay. Ian Matthew Harrington here. How are you? Delighted to be here. Delighted to be back.
Good.
Yeah, this is an exciting time to just be right by your side, chatting with you once again.
It's nice to see you always. You know, every time we get together, it's always good vibes, you know.
Even in text.
Yeah.
Jack gives good text. I just want that known. Well, it's right up there.
Do you want my secret?
Tell me.
I talk to text.
Oh, yeah.
So I text exactly how I talk. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a gift, sometimes it's a curse.
It does go both ways.
It
Absolutely.
does. So, Ian, tell us what you do for a living and, you know, how we came to actually meet.
Well, so I am the Director of Workforce Development and Training for a Health Education Center in Norwich. We train staff in organizations in CPR, Assist, QPR, both of which address suicidality. We train the community health workers, and we train medical and community interpreters. And so we are out in community providing the resources so that people can really reach the community and provide them the services that are needed.
Very much respected work, very appreciated. And, speaking of community, that's how we met at a Chamber of Commerce event. So that was fate because now we're besties. And
I didn't know I was your bestie. I thought it was like a one-way thing. I thought I was just loving all the Goldstein. Wow, look at that. Goldstein and Harrington.
It is reciprocated.
Let's go.
Yes.
I love it.
So, which brings us to our topic today. You know, we got to talking, and, you know, it seems that there's a lot of people that are going through breakups, divorce, and sometimes that can, you know, trickle down onto the children when there's children involved. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's some good to that, and then there's some bad to that, because I'm a firm believer that it's better to be in 2 separate but happy households than one together just miserable one. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Oh, there's good data on that, and I absolutely agree. My own story, right? Mm-hmm. My parents divorced. They got hitched because my mom got pregnant, and my dad was fully responsible. But they were not a good couple, right? And good people can make a toxic household. Yep. I know that from when I was 4, and I ended up living with my dad and my grandmother, and then saw my mother on weekends. And now I'm a recent divorcee. I got divorced on 9/11 of all days, and I'll tell you, but it has been everything in terms of just rebuilding and creating open, joyful spaces for my kids. My kids featured on this cap.
Oh, let me see. Can we see over here? Let me see. Let me show. Oh, that's so cute. Right? What are the kids' names?
That is from youngest to oldest, Cora, Christian, and Kellen.
I love it. Yeah. That's so cool. I want one for Mom.
You can't have one.
My kids never got me anything like that, like cool like that.
You can. Mom's Day is just around the corner, as we know.
Yeah, tell my kids that. They don't give me anything cool.
I bet they will. Look at it. They'll watch this and they'll be like, all right, Mom, let's do it.
Yeah. Hint, hint. So,
but yes, happy households. And, you know, their mom and I had, I would say, a contentious divorce as it sort of kicked up and just got really tough. And then, you know, just leaning into love and creating what's best for the kids. Mm-hmm. Now we're able to have a good co-parenting dynamic between the two of us. We communicate frequently about the needs of the kids. And we're so much happier in our spaces.
That's really good.
Yeah, she kept the house. I'm in an apartment now. The kids have a place where they can come and decompress, either, you know, wherever they're going from school. Mm-hmm. it's really beautiful.
That's great. I mean, okay. So, question: how long were you guys married?
We were married for 10 years.
Okay, together
for
total.
13.
Okay, so 13 years of togetherness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were able to cut ties, make it work amicably for the kids. Was there any point in time where it just seemed like you weren't going to be able to make it work, or was it always pretty smooth sailing and agreeable?
Always pretty smooth sailing. I mean,
Throughout the divorce, was that such a stupid question?
well, I thought you meant throughout the whole marriage.
No, I mean like through the split. Like, you know, was it tumultuous at first, and then you were able to come to a common ground?
Well, that's exactly how it went. If we were to break it down, yeah. By the time April rolled around, she filed papers in February, and by the time April rolled around and we were sitting in front of the lawyers, she's like, "Hey, can we, be in the same space?" And in June, she's like, "Can we sit on the same side of the table?" And so, our reasons for divorce were not reasons that we couldn't like each other as human beings. And that's an important thing to recognize. I don't know that every couple that's splitting can really get into that. I mean, there are just a lot of emotions involved, a lot of loss, a lot of grief around, maybe an imagined future.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, definitely hats off to you guys for, having it figured out. So we can, having it figured out to the point where, the kids can, both be in two separate spaces and not have it be, going crazy.
Well, so today's a great example, right? She's running a fever, and two of the kids needed to stay home because they had an incident at school where they got sick, right? They're not sick, but they need to, if you throw up at school, you got to be out for 24 hours until you don't.
They're sick.
Yeah, exactly. So, they're low touch, but she was ill. And she's like, "Hey, can you get the kids early?" Right? And so I got the kids as early as I could. I brought them to my place where they're with my mother and my girlfriend. And, but she felt as though she could communicate with me in that regard. Right? Yeah. She could just reach out to say, "Hey, I need you to take the kids early." Yeah. And
you could just be like, "Okay, sure. Right. No problem." Exactly. Not, "Well, what are you doing?" and being petty and going back and forth.
Right. What's in it for me down the line, whatever.
So I have a question. Do you think that like the way that you were brought up played a part in the decision making and how your split would go when it was time?
Yes. I hated that my mother needed to say that my dad was a bad person to me when I was 4 or 5 years old.
There's so much of that.
Like in every birthday from the split till I was 10, I was wishing that they'd get back together because I thought that that's what I needed. Yeah. Right. And I didn't know how to process that. My mom was telling me that this person who was central in my life, who I saw myself the most like, was a bad person, right? And you say stuff like all men are terrible. Like she was going through a lot of hurt, and she'd experienced a lot of hurt in her life prior to that, and that's how she, was expressing herself, right? Right. That was tough for me to process. That was really tough for me to do, and I knew that even though I never wanted to put my kids through a divorce, it became obvious that that was the only option forward for us. Right. But I decided that I was not going to let it be, at least from my part, the part I can control. Right. I'm not going to bash Bethany. I'm not going to bash, I don't know, anyone on that side of the family, because they're still all
family.
Exactly. They're beloved family members to my kids.
To them, yeah. That's so smart, and that's so thoughtful, to just think like that, because for me too, when my parents split before I could even remember it, it was like 2 or 3, but my mom was so resentful that, she had me all the, Monday through Friday. He had me only on the weekends, but he made that time count, and we did a lot of things together, and I had a lot of fun with my dad. And she worked and I was in school, and it was home and it was chores, and it was not as fun of a dynamic, and so I had a really, really great relationship with my dad, and she was kind of jealous of that. And she would say things like, oh, your dad just buys your love. Oh, he's just buying because he would buy me little toys and buy me little things, and we would go out on adventures and shoot guns and play golf and play, do all kinds of things, like active activities, where my mom fell short. So it wasn't like that was my favorite parent, but, he just happened to be parenting in a different style that I really reciprocated at that time, and I really liked. So, and it was hard for me to hear that when my mom would say things, oh, he's just doing this just because to get your, it's just that's so petty. And I was young, and I remember being like, no, he's not, and arguing, and it's not, and it, it just kind of sits with you, and it's not right.
It's, I want to put a big plug in here for parents who are divorced and can talk it out. Because co-parenting is the way. Our kids need consistency, they need structure, and here's a great example, right? And incidentally, I am so blessed to have Bethany as my co-parent, all right? Here's an example of why. She's like, hey, I'm trying to work out this bedtime routine with the kids where they read to themselves, and then I come in for a little bit. I read a chapter of, at this point, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay,
and
classic.
they just chill out. And it's a chapter. It's not reading until the end of the book. It's not. And so there's good structure around it. And so she's like, this is what I want their bedtime to be. All right. So they don't stay with me during the week, but they stay with me every other weekend. And, so creating an environment where they're sleeping on their own, where we're reading to settle down at night, and that it happens at a standard time.
It's all positive things.
All of this, right.
Getting rid of some of those screens. It's a good routine.
Precisely.
And so many fathers out there at that request. And there's some others out there at the father's request, right? A reasonable request, right, if you would say, right, reasonable. But would be like, well, that's what you do on your time at your house. You can't control what goes on over here. You're trying to control what's going over here.
You're missing the point. You're missing the point if you're up in that.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as reparenting, right? It's just a breakdown of structure.
You get one shot.
Well, it's, I'm not going to fix anything that my other parent's doing, right? It's not, oh, you don't have to brush your teeth. No, I'm the fun parent, right? Yeah. Oh, because this is a dynamic in one of the families that I'm aware of, right? Dental hygiene. Not a thing in one household. It's important in another household, right? So what does that mean? Now the kid makes associations with love and respecting this parent in conducting themselves one way versus how the other parent wants. It's just confusing.
Absolutely.
And kids don't need that.
And they don't need it. They don't deserve it.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's talk about some of the effects, right, that these children can actually, they absorb all of it, right? And some of the effects that can pour over into the children's cup, and what, and in your line of work, I'm sure that you've come across a lot of different youths, right, that have gone through trauma, some of it, from their parents and the decisions that their parents have made, and which spilled over into the children's cup, which is unfair, right? But it happens. And some of it's school stuff, other peers, right? But I mean, we're talking when there's dysfunction in the home, and whether you're staying together but it's bad, or you're splitting and it's confusing. I mean, what can happen to their brains, to their minds, to their perception. And
I'm going to take perhaps a contrarian perspective on this, right? We can't primarily concern ourselves with our child's journey, right? Our first journey our first investment has to be to ourselves.
Of course.
Right? Well, you say, of course, a lot of folks don't get that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the parents that I work with think that their responsibility is to provide for the kids, and certainly it is, but not at the expense of providing for and nourishing themselves.
Well, that's just kind of standard protocol for life, right? When you're on an airplane and it's going down and those oxygen masks deploy, there's instructions there. And those instructions, the number one is not to put that oxygen mask on your child or your loved one. It is to put it on yourself.
Right.
Because if you can't breathe, then you're no good to anybody else around you.
It's unsustainable.
It is.
I can't just keep pouring into the cups of others.
Of course, we have to, put ourselves first so we can be in a clear mental state to be able to make the decisions that are going to affect the ones that we love, right?
Yeah.
But when that time does come and we're like, okay, now we're going to do this separately, and the child is right in the middle, of that crevice, right? And you're splitting farther and farther and farther apart, and they feel like they're just going deeper and deeper in. A lot of times they feel like it's their fault. A lot of times they don't understand because they're not explained. A lot of the parents think that, hey, this is adult business. We shouldn't concern, it's not for them to talk about it. We'll just let them know how this is going to be affecting them and not explain it at all. And that's happened so over and over. It's happening right now in someone's house right now as we speak, hundreds.
Silence is violence.
And it is. It's so bad because the child gets so confused, and they're left to their own thoughts and devices, and it drives them crazy. And there's a lot of children that come to even the point of suicidal thoughts and actions because they feel like that is their life, right? That's all they know.
Yep.
And then it's ending as they know it. So if they're not really talked to and explained whys and hows and how we're and a plan to move forward, it can be very, very detrimental to the mental health of the children.
They say that children don't hear our words, they read our hearts. And it's, the only way that my kids are going to learn to break the cycle of silence is by seeing me talk, right? By watching me express myself emotionally, by watching me invest in myself and develop my own resilience so that I can, when they're having a challenging time, be present with them in that moment to say, hey, what's really going on? Yeah. As opposed to snap yelling or accountability, right? Because I've got some acting out. What's really happening right now?
Right.
What is it that you're feeling? If you're upset with me, talk to me. Don't pick on your brother and sister. What is happening? And but there's no opportunity for them to develop vocabulary if I'm just all high strung. Right, holding on to all my stress,
screaming,
not
yelling,
taking care of myself.
What are you doing? And, throwing things around and acting out just like a child. And then you expect the child to learn from you.
But I have to equip myself with those tools. Yeah. Right? I have to figure out how to regulate what's going on for me. And that's why I started a community called Bite, Bound, and Breathe.
Okay.
It's up on school, and it's for leaders. It's by invitation. But when I say leaders, it's about people who care for others, right? Who take an active investment in the lives of others.
Okay.
To make sure that we're sharing resources, best practices, etc., in how to do this self-care thing, right?
Yeah.
Bite being about everything that you consume, from the media, from the podcasts that you listen to the food, and how you hydrate.
Everything that you're ingesting.
Precisely. Everything. And then Bound is about movement and self-expression, and then the Breathe is, of course, about restfulness, right? Getting back to center, grounding. And how those are three pillars of self-care that in my journey have made all the difference. As I focus on those things, I can feel myself just coming more into myself, right?
Growing,
yes.
Yeah. And when you grow and when you do it the right way, and the right way is different to everybody, right?
Sure.
It's very individual. But when you do it your right way, you can feel yourself growing. You can.
Yeah.
You can physically feel it. You can tell by the actions you take, by the words that you choose to say.
You vibrate differently.
Yeah.
Right? Positivity comes into my life. Here's an example of this. Okay. A couple weeks ago, I was moving into the new apartment. And so I've been on my journey for about 18 months at this point, and just really explicitly pouring into me.
Right.
It's the only way I knew I was going to survive this divorce. And I have a coach for it, all this jazz. I'd love to tell you more. But I put a Facebook post out there. I go, hey, this is what's happening in my life. I'm moving into a new apartment. If you've got some stuff that needs a new home, let me know.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'll share some pictures with you. You can put them up there, right? But it's like my apartment is fully furnished, right? I've got a California king bed, frame, box spring, whole nine, didn't pay for it, bedding, etc. Oversized recliner thing, a double recliner couch, love seat, sofa, tables like you wouldn't believe.
The works.
Right? The works. A chest, all this stuff.
And you know why?
From people who I'm connected to on Facebook, right? I just put up, I asked the universe gave. It was that simple.
Well, you used the age-old, the oil, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
Gets the grease, sure.
Yeah, the oil, the grease.
No.
But the thing is that not every squeaky wheel does get that grease, and that is because that might be that wheel that was when all the other three were going around, and that one was like, fuck you guys. When you're an asshole, you're not going to like receive goodness and kindness from the community, from your peers, from people that are voluntarily. So let's just, for an example, if you're walking around and you're not selfless, you're a selfish individual, or you're only thinking about yourself, you're not really giving, you don't call your friends and your family, check in on people, you don't reach out, you don't offer help when you see posts like that on Facebook, you don't extend anything of yourself,
right.
Nobody would answer that post.
Right.
You are what you get what you give.
Yeah.
You are what you eat. You get what you give.
Sure.
In this life. So that is those things that you have. You're attributing that to the kindness of others, and I respect that. But in reality, those things came because of who you are. Those people chose to get up on that and type that and give that to you because it's you. Because you're a good person, you show a positive interest in the community, in others. You do good work. You are a good father. You are a good person. You get good things in return, and
we work at it.
And that's that. But like I said, you walk around being a dick your whole life, and kicking rocks and not really, and just pushing down babies and shit. You're not gonna.
Oh my God, it's getting dark over there.
Hey, there's people that do those kinds of things. You're not going to be able to shine because the people aren't gonna be able to lend you their light.
You know what you're talking about? You said it in so many ways. It's this cultural universality, right? The energy you send out is the energy you get back, right? Karma works, y'all. Be the change you want to see in the world. The Wiccan Creed, and it hurt none, do what thou wilt, right? The Golden Rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Like, all of this is real. This is really, really real. And I was taught it at a very young age, but just the process of really practicing that and seeing the different results that I get in the world, it's been incredible.
We've had conversations between us, in the past about that. And, I believe that people are brought together for certain reasons. Ideas were, formed for people with like minds to be able to, make them come to life. And I respect that out of you, so much that you're able to get up every day and move forward, even though you didn't have the ideal childhood. You didn't have, your marriage didn't pan out the way you thought it would. Things are moving in a direction that you didn't plan. But like I always say, you have to be able to adjust and adapt in this world, because things are not always going to go as planned. And whether you've had some sort of, experience with the bad stuff, when you were younger or not, you still have to deal with it in the present. And sometimes our experience in the past can help us to navigate. And those of us who might be just starting fresh and learning what this is for the first time and what this feels like, there's people out here like us that, you can talk to, you can relate to, you can maybe, have somebody in your
community. Join a community,
exactly.
Get some help,
yeah.
right? Talk to people about the tools and develop them for yourself.
Sure.
Sorry to jump in.
No, it's true. And,
yeah.
And that goes to not just the parenting. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's be real. I mean, we have to move on in lots of ways. We have to date after we, get divorced or split up. We don't have to. Obviously, we don't have to. No one's putting a gun to your head. But
we'd
like to. We'd like to eventually.
Part of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, we're full social creatures, and you're right on.
You felt like you were ready to dip into that diving pool. I mean, and you did it, and
right.
You're in a healthy relationship now, and that is a testament too. A lot of people feel like they can't move on and find happiness or find love after a breakup, after divorce, and that's just simply not the case. I mean, there's more than 8 billion people on this planet, you guys. I mean, there's other people out there for us, right? It's not going to be the end of the world, and we have to let ourselves heal properly so that we can understand that and be able to move on and raise our children correctly. For those of us who don't have children, be able to love ourselves correctly as well. I mean, we have to love ourselves when we have children too, but we have to double it up then, but you still have to, first things first, learn to love yourself, learn to understand yourself so that you're not out there making the same mistakes over and over again, and that you can be able to be a positive contributor to someone else's life too.
We have to become the people we want to attract.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple, right? And it's right baked into what we were saying earlier with the golden rule.
The energy,
it's all right there.
It's pulling. It's like it's giving and it's pulling and it's there.
And I want to put a plug in for this coming Saturday.
Okay.
All right. Everyone knows what's going on Friday, but this coming Saturday is Buy Local Saturday.
Oh yeah.
All right. And I want, there are lots of things around the world that might get you upset or people that upset going on. Control what you can control, right? What is your local life and what does that look like, right? Can you do, can you work in a little bit of workout in the morning? Can you make sure to hydrate yourself and, have a sip of vinegar so that you process glucose differently throughout the day so that your spikes aren't so crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Are you able to give yourself 3 days off drinking so that your body can, go into a state of stasis and actually dissolve and process the alcohol so you're not
a dopamine detox, right? Any of that. It might be wow, every time I get onto Twitter, let's say, I'm reading something and it just gets me really upset. And I'm so mad at the end of 15 minutes reading Twitter, I throw my phone. Just an example, right? Twitter doesn't exist anymore.
He doesn't do that.
No, hey, I'll tell you, when I was consuming media on the regular, and even NPR, right? I was just like, wow, listening to this stuff, it's making me nuts. It's making me jumpy. It's making me feel crappy. I'm unplugging.
Just cut it out.
Yeah, or use it for what it's meant to be used for, right? So my social media consumption, use the tool, let the tool not use you, right? When I want to get on Facebook, I want to see what Liam's doing. I want to find out what's happening with Jack's cleaning service, whatever it might be. Yeah. I go to where I need to go. I look at that stuff. I check out some of my subs, which are all positive things, right? This is Creative Explained or different fun cooking things or couple stuff. I love that stuff. And funny stuff, the Holderness family. Yeah. So, shout out. Look, if you've got an ADHD person in your life, ADHD is awesome. Fantastic book, incredibly well written. Okay. Definitely from the inside perspective and from a family member's perspective or the wife's perspective. So it's ADHD just an incredible
is awesome. Okay,
yes,
that's
absolutely
going to be
the Holderness family.
Definitely something I'm going to take a look at myself. Thank you for that.
Do. So, also available on Audible, read by the authors.
Shameless plug. So,
There's
okay.
no shame there.
Shameless. So, before we go, I have a question. I'm going to swing this over to our producer, Liam. Hey, everybody. Say hi to Liam. Hi, Liam.
What's up?
So we've been talking a little bit about like the dysfunction in our families and how we were raised from broken homes and, just had all kinds of... Okay. So how does it feel to have both your parents,
Together?
Yeah. Is that like totally fucking awesome?
It's pretty cool. I think that my family dynamic's interesting because I feel like my parents feel like they need to be together a lot of the time, and I think that they are really like good for each other. I think my mom tends to get a little bit more on the crazy side, and my dad tends to kind of like help calm her down. And I think it's like kind of a yin yang thing with them. Right. So I think they're a perfect match for each other. And I think
that's so nice.
I think a lot to do with my own brother and stuff. Like he's got issues of his own, and
he's a slightly autistic.
He's slightly autistic. Yep.
Mm-hmm, we've heard before.
Yeah, and I think
shout out to the bro.
Hey Dan.
Hey Dan. Dan the man.
Yeah, but Dan, he's a good kid, and my parents, they take care of him like crazy, and I think a lot of their lives revolve around making sure he's fine too, which I think in its own way is stressful for some people, but I think it helped bring them together in some ways too. And then I'm just me and my sister's just her. So, but I think coming from a 2-parent household, it's very pleasant sometimes. It can get very chaotic, I think, for a lot of people in there, especially 2 different parenting styles as well in one place. I think my dad's more of the more ease back, kind of like just trying to chill out kind of vibe, and my mom's kind of like hyperactive and very much on us a lot more, which I think is interesting to have to deal with, because you go to one parent for one thing and then the other, and it's like you go for one thing and the other for the other, and you don't go for this reason, and you don't go for her for that reason.
You learn them just like they learn you, right?
Exactly.
You learn how to like kind of wiggle your way through that, navigate. Exactly.
And I mean, I grew up when a lot of my friends just had divorced parents, and it was for me, I felt like the odd one for not having divorced parents, which I felt kind of weird about. But
Liam had his parents together his whole life, and they loved him so much.
When you go through adolescence, right? It's about figuring yourself out. So you're looking at your peer group.
I joke,
like, what's normal? Yeah. Of course you do. But I totally get that. I have a friend, right, who that was the exact scenario. And but because he had an integral family, a nuclear family like that, we all went over there. We were gravitated to that. I think we were in some ways fascinated.
Yeah, he probably felt like the odd man out.
Maybe
if a lot of his friends were from separated.
Maybe I don't know that we brought it up a lot. Yeah. But
like Liam's saying, to that testament, like just feeling like you're the one that's different because your parents are together when so many other parents.
Well, I just had a very weird childhood too, with my dad's job and all that stuff. So it was like,
what did your dad do again?
He's a superintendent of the school district I went to school in.
We're gonna do a Liam episode.
And we talked about this on the first episode a little bit. We touched on how Liam's the middle child. Yep. His older brother, has the special needs. So which definitely took his parents' attention there. And then the baby is
my
the
sister.
girl. So I mean, you got the baby girl. That's always gonna be. That's always gonna be like the parents are always gonna dote on the baby girl. No matter what, no matter how old she's gonna be.
And my siblings, Amir, all wildly different. Wildly. I'm more of the nuclear family, very much like want to get married, want kids, and want like a house and wife and
picket fence.
Yeah, dog, car. Like
Name the dog Spot.
I idolize the nuclear family. My siblings do not. They're much like my sister's. Like, I just want to have a career and just get an apartment with my boyfriend. And like 10 years, I'll think about it.
Independent woman. Yeah. Okay, she wants to exercise her right to just be free and do whatever the hell she wants for a little while.
Yeah, and then my brother, he just does have no interest in any of that stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I find it interesting, my dynamic with my siblings for sure. And I think my life in general, I think, has some interesting parts to it with family. But
you probably couldn't even imagine what your life would be like now, right? Like if your parents had split when you were young.
Yeah, well, my mom's parents split around my age. So like, and she talked about it a lot, and I think a big reason why she never split from my dad, because they've gotten bad arguments before, my parents, but is like, I think she's afraid of that stuff too. But I think they're good for it. Like, there's not like they would never even, but like, I think she's like, doesn't want that for her kids too. So, because it was very weird for her with her stepmom and stepfather and stuff, because she loves them, but it was just like
she had to get used to them at one point.
Yeah, and I told my parents, like, if they did split and they did get like new partners, I wouldn't talk to them. I've told them that before.
Well, you were like
nice.
Nothing against the new partners, but I don't.
You were like Brennan. You were like, if even if there's a fire, I'm not gonna call him dad ever.
Yeah.
Robert better not get in my face.
Yeah.
Because I'll drop that motherfucker. You remember? Step Brothers. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the greatest comedies of all time. I definitely can memorize all those lines. So you were just like not having it.
No.
You were like, if it ever happened, you were convinced.
I've told them, like, because they've gotten bad arguments where they're on the brink of just like my leaving.
Separating.
And then I just told them, like, listen, like,
this isn't gonna work for me.
I told him straight up, like, this is stupid. Like, you guys have been married for how long, and then you've had kids for this long, and like, we all would chip in if you asked us to help fix this stuff, and then they're like, yeah, no, you're right. It's because I'm the voice of reason sometimes.
That's the middle kid. The middle kid's role. They just naturally end up being this conscience for the family. I've seen it so frequently. Because
it's not even like I'm giving them advice. It's just I call them out on it. Like, I'm like nope. Like, you're being like, no, you're being an asshole right now. Yeah. And they're like,
we're not censored here, just so you're aware.
No, that's
you can say things.
I've called my parents assholes, and it's not, and I don't ever cuss at my parents. I just call them it when they're like, I'm like, hey, you're being an ass. They're like, and then they get upset and they get more mad, and I'm like, you can get mad at me, you can yell at me all day. I can take it. Yeah. It's not like I don't. This is not going to ruin my night. After this, after you yell at me, I'm going downstairs and eating Cheetos and playing video games. Like, it's nothing changed in my life, because you're still going to be together tonight, and you're going to get all your anger out, and I could just live with it.
Yeah.
See, so that's the conversation I want to hear from more couples that are together. Right? It's like, how do you do the work, and that piece where did the kids come in and help ground you in the significance of this relationship and what it takes to move forward, maybe differently, but move forward. Because not to parentify the kids, but just to say, like, what is that story? Because I think that's incredible.
Yeah,
I do too. I agree. And as much as we always say, like, hey, don't blame yourself. It's, it's not you. It's mom and dad. And as much as there's a significant, what I want to say, like, there's just so many people, right, that are children that blame themselves.
Yeah.
There's a huge group of people that can say, oh, or confused. They don't know what it was. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was my fault. It must have been my fault. And as much as we can say, hey, it wasn't your fault, do you know, like, how big of a help that was, Liam, that you said that to your parents?
Yeah.
Like, it's not your fault, but do you know, like, if so many more children could have been like that, could have been like, guys, we can fix this together.
Well, I'm just not afraid of my parents, and it's not like, and I think you should never be afraid of your parents, but I just never was, and I knew a lot of my friends were, but I never was hit or anything like that as a kid, and and I'm a bigger guy than my family now, and so like there's like this 6'1", 6-foot guy.
You're like, yeah.
That's
okay.
like, I don't really care. Like, no offense.
Yeah, but it wasn't even. It's not bodily, though, right? Like,
well, sometimes
you
it isn't.
can love someone beyond the relationship.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know what's better for you two is ironing the shit out, and you're being bitches right now.
Yeah.
So knock it off, and if what I'm saying pisses you off, deal with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
We'll have that conversation.
Exactly. And I've said that probably countless of times to them, and it's like, listen, like, if you want to get mad, because it's not even their argument, but like they're upset, I'm like, if you want to get upset, you can yell at me and cry to me and be mad at me, like be mad, like not at me because I haven't done anything, but like be mad in general and just tell me straight, because I'm a secret keeper. I'm the best one in the family, so anytime they are mad at each other, I'm just like, and
that's it.
I knew
you're the shoulder.
Yeah, I know a bunch of stuff my family's mad at each other about, but I've never been like, hey Anya, did you know Dad's upset with you?
Play
about
people
this?
against
Like,
each other.
Hey Mom, can you believe that Anya said this about you? It was my sister's name. But like I'm like, I don't. It's like it's like, because I tell people all the time, like even my friends, like, you tell me something, you're not putting it on me. You're telling me something, it's with me, it comes on me, and then I throw it out the window. Because guess what? It doesn't stick with me, because I don't. It's me in the window. That's what you're talking to.
Well, you're very blessed to have that mindset, and to have that reasoning and that rationale. You know, and that calmness about you, and you're blessed to have the parents that you have. And just, you know, to say that there's so many people that do have that as well, and that can relate to you, and you know, it can be hard at sometimes, I'm sure, because you feel like you might be the glue, you know, trying to just keep everything together. But at the same time, there are so many parents out there that will not hear their child, right? And that is something that I hope that as adults we can get better at. Parents, or not a parent, just as an adult, right? Being able to hear what the other person is saying and take it at face value. You know, and
our kids, you know, if you've got kids in school right now, they're learning SEL. They're learning social emotional learning. Like all Fridays for my kids, they're learning these SEL skills very intentionally. Right. And I always thought it was such a shame that parents aren't being resourced in the same way. Right. But I think increasingly our kids are having these emotional skills, these relational skills developed. That help us. Right. And
I think a lot of times, I think a lot of times kids need to just, if they're like afraid of confronting their parents in some way, just stick to your guns, in the sense of like, don't be rude. Don't make it a big deal about yourself. Make it a thing of like, what can we do together to fix this kind of thing? You know what I mean? Like, not like well, you're in the wrong, and I don't want to hear it anymore from you. It's like, no, you're wrong, but talk to me about why you think you're correct, and then you're still wrong, but you need to understand, like, I want to understand like your perspective of it, and then that's what works, and then it just stick to my guns with it. I'm just like, I'm not gonna walk away because it's not gonna help. You know. So
that's brave of you too, to be able to voice your emotional opinions to people who are your parents, who are older, who are bigger. There's that scene from Matilda, right, where Miss Trunchbull, and she's like, I'm big, you're small, I'm smart, you're dumb, I'm right, you're wrong. And to be honest, like, that's a scene I'm pretty sure everyone remembers, because I'm pretty fucking sure that we've all felt that way. We've all been made to feel that way by an adult that was wrong. Because just because you're an adult, just because you're a parent, just because you put your big boy pants on, big girl pants on that day, does not make you always correct. And there are youths that are able to have that insight, right? And be able to express themselves better than some and most adults. And sometimes when you get a child like that with a parent that doesn't understand and just feels like they're always right because they're the older one, it can make for, you know, a lot of dysfunction, very tough times, and a lot of miscommunication. And, you know, there's definitely resources out there for that. So, you know, we're going to, you know, talk a little bit more about that, but we're going to wrap it up soon.
Sure.
And I just want to be able to see, like, where, I want everyone to be able to see different perspectives, right? Just because, you had your issues with your parents growing up, I definitely had my issues with my parents growing up, and your parents were together, but you still had your issues. We all have three very different dynamics in our growth, in our journeys, right? But we're all rational, reasonable, and we're able to be able to come together and say, hey, these are my emotions, and be able to talk about that and express ourselves in a fair and communicative space and time, and where we know there's a time and place, and be appropriate about it. But what about those people and those parents that don't, that can't, that aren't doing that?
Yeah.
And this is why my mission is to bring belonging and resilience to the world, right? And create it and foster it first in myself, and then talk to others about how we build it.
Yeah.
Right? How we build it together.
Absolutely.
Because it's not, the ability to sit here and have a disagreement with you, right? We don't see eye to eye.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we can't hang out. That doesn't mean we have to stop talking about any topic.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, what about those people that unfriend you on Facebook because you have a
can't
different
with that.
political view?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Oh,
work.
I hate that so much.
Me and my
It doesn't work.
I don't care who you voted for. God,
me
you
and
never
my
did
best
anything to me.
friend that do our podcast together.
Yeah.
Two different sides of political spectrum.
Sure.
And we just
Sure.
we don't argue at all. We respect each other, and we're like, listen, I don't agree with you. I think your point's stupid. But guess what?
You guys mesh so well. Lounging around podcast, guys. I'm going to throw a plug into Liam's podcast real quick.
Yeah.
Lounging Around podcast. Okay, check it out. Liam and
Kiskin. Matt Kiskin.
Matt. I knew it. Yep, Matt Kiskin. Liam and Matt.
I call him Kiskin, though. So
Okay, Liam and Kiskin.
Does he call you Liam?
he calls me Liam. He doesn't call me Saranich.
Okay,
I like
so
it.
one first name, one last name. Either way, great
That's
group,
great,
great podcast, and I appreciate you, Liam. So, but yeah, go ahead. I mean,
Of course.
it's you guys can, you mesh so well together.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really do love about your show, is your contrast, and you're both so funny, and you give each other a hard time.
Oh, yeah,
but there's no animosity, there's no hatred, there's no bitterness ever.
Yeah,
like
we
it's just
bust each other's balls. Like
and I love
crazy.
that. That's how friendship is supposed to be. And even if you're just acquaintances, shit. I mean, that's even more of a reason to not give a fuck about what political party you vote for, or how you spend your evenings, or what club you belong to.
Exactly.
That's the big message. Give fewer fucks.
Yes, I'm gonna quote you on that.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
You give a fuck about yourself and what's going on with you, and about the people you care about. Give fewer fucks anywhere else. That's that buy and care local.
That's it.
Right?
That's the show.
Control what you can control.
And we're done here now.
And see.
Right. No, but on that note, thanks, Liam, for jumping in and giving us your input, on this topic, because it's gonna definitely resonate with a lot of people, younger and older. And I hope that if you're a child and you're going through this stuff and you're listening to this, or if you've gone through this and you're a parent now, and you might be going through the divorce part yourself, right? You're not alone. You always have somebody to talk to. There's groups out there in your community. Reach out. And
Seriously.
As a parent now, I mean, there's so many ways that you can get in touch with different types of therapy, and I'm a big firm advocate in therapy and counseling, and trying to remove the negative stigma for people that go to therapy, right? Because sometimes people don't want to go because they're like, oh, I don't want to be one of those people that go to therapy. What do you mean? Everyone's
Everybody
fucked
goes to
up.
therapy right now.
Everyone is
Really.
fucked up. And the people that are going to stay fucked up are the people that are not addressing the issue in one way or the other. I'm not saying therapy is the only issue.
My first divorce, as we were in the process of that.
I mean, the only
right?
solution, I'm sorry.
We went to marriage counseling, and I was just like so glad to be there because it gave me an opportunity to language it and focus on the things I needed to work on.
Yeah.
Right. Like my first wife, Sarah, was able to tell me things in that environment that I couldn't hear otherwise, and it helped me be a healthier, more are just less of an asshole, basically. And, we got divorced, but we had a very, we had a strong relationship even after the divorce.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have happened without the counseling. It's a tremendous resource just to be able to hear yourself process these thoughts.
For sure. And I commend you for that, because it's not an easy thing to do, and it's not a fun thing to do, right? But you got to do it in order to grow and progress. And
eat your broccoli. Go to therapy.
And that's a big testament to like the quote. We're all living in the same building, but we have different views, and that is so true. We're all on the same planet. We're all here together on this earth, right? There's billions of people and there's billions of different perspectives. Right. No two perspectives are the same. And when you're together, you're trying to make a family, you're trying to be happy, you have to make sure that you're happy first on the inside, because if you're not happy within yourself, you're not going to be able to, coexist, cohabitate, co-parent, anything, so you're not gonna be able to work well with others. All right, you're just gonna be a dick. You're just gonna be miserable. You're not gonna address your issues, and you're not gonna be happy ultimately. And when you're not happy, that gives off, right? Like people know when you're just not happy with yourself. Right. So that's another thing to what you were saying earlier. It's you radiate, you glow different. You show it's all in the way you carry yourself, and then guess who sees that? The kids. And then they can be able to see what that's like and hopefully follow suit, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, one more time, please, the organization that you are a part of, that
Health Education Center.
And
Bite Bound and Breathe on school. Bite Bound Breathe.
Yes, I definitely commend
on
that.
SKOOL.com. Come on in. I'd love to have you.
We love it. So thank you again for coming in today, Ian.
Ian
Matthew Harrington, everybody. Definitely a joy. And we have so many more things that we can talk about in the future. So I'd love to have you back again to talk about some other things. Because being a parent and being an educator isn't all you're about, I'm sure.
I love to. I can't wait.
Okay, good. We'll get down and dirty on the next one. So again, everyone, thank you for tuning in and listening to TraumCom Podcast. We've all had some trauma. We got to find a way to turn it into some comedy because, at the end of the day, laughter is the best medicine. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Peace.